Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and I think this is probably the last one of the day. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. We're very, very close now to 9,100 subscribers, just getting us ever so much closer to the big magic 10, big 5 digits. So if you are a regular viewer, yet to subscribe, now's the time. Now, we've got a story here about the Care Service Bill. The National Care Service was the big flagship policy of Nicola Sturgeon. She was desperate to sort of get this out there alongside, the National Health Service. The plan was to get this one up and running, then to merge the two, get them talking to each other so people could come out of hospital, go straight into some kind of care. The only trouble, of course, is that this was being done by the SNP. So nobody had a clue what they were doing. And nobody had the ability to fund it. But they have managed to fund £17 million worth of it. They haven't achieved anything. The £17 million is basically just through the planning stage. There's not one iota of care, but there has been £17 million wasted. I think that could have been better spent, in hospitals or something. Who knows? Certainly not wasted on basically administration of a non-existent scheme. But we'll take a look to see what is going on with this absolute failure that will really annoy Nicola Sturgeon, as it was meant to be her legacy to the nation. Here goes. So SNP squander £17 million of taxpayer cash on the much delayed and indeed non-existent flagship National Care Service. As I say, this was meant to be the legacy that Sturgeon left, so that in years to come, people will always go, oh, the National Care Service, Sturgeon's greatest ever thing. Oh, we'll always call it the Sturgeon this and the Sturgeon that, because the woman was desperate to be remembered. And boy, will she be remembered, just not for anything good. Anyway, the Scottish Government has been blasted after it admitted that the bill for its controversial attempts to centralise social care has skyrocketed to over £17 million, and with calls now made for it to scrap the entire flagship proposals. 17 million down the drain, up the Swanee, and nothing ever coming of it. Why? SNP. The Scottish Government has once again been accused of squandering public money after it was revealed that work on its much delayed and indeed non-existent flagship National Care Service has cost a staggering £17 million. This was an idea put forward by Nicola Sturgeon to reform and centralise the care sector. But since its creation, it's run up a huge bill with no finish line in sight, as the plans have changed numerous times. Because of course they have. These people are stupid. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they need. They're not experts. They imagine that they are. But they imagine so many things. But just because you want something doesn't make it so. Anyway, it was meant to be introduced by the end of the 2026 parliamentary term, but this has now been pushed back to 28-29. And if you think it's going to happen in 28-29, I think again, never in a million years. The original proposals were also estimated to cost between £500 million and £1.25 billion over 5 years. Come on, they haven't got £250 million, never mind £1.25 billion. And that includes the setup costs. Critics of the SNP have repeatedly urged the administration to drop the plans due to the bureaucracy involved, with councils also complaining about it being centralised and taken out of their control. Health Minister Mary Todd confirmed that the huge £17.4 million has been spent on preparations for the policy as of November. Preparations. 17 million in preparations. And what have you actually got to show for that £17 million? Sweet FA. Nearly 10 million costs of this financial year alone. She's also confirmed that 160 full-time equivalent civil servants have been working on the policy and they've achieved nothing. 160 people working on this and nothing to show for it. And it isn't going to happen. And it isn't going to happen within 10 years. And the costs are going to spiral out of all reason. But simply so that Sturgeon can have a legacy. By the time this ever came in, assuming it ever does, and it probably won't now, she'd be dead. She would be long gone. She would have cast off the mortal coil. She'd be whirling in her box, that's for sure. Anyway, the NCS would centralise social care and make ministers ultimately accountable for services, with a number of regional boards set up, similar to how the NHS operates. But councillors have claimed that the service does not need one-size-fits-all approach, especially in rural communities. I've been saying this along. I did this earlier with the NHS where they want to make it monolithic. Rural areas are not the same as the central belt. You've got to have those differences. Anyway, its passage through Holyrood has also proved controversial, as even SNP MSPs blasted the lack of financial detail within it, suggesting that the public purse would be writing a blank cheque. Well, it more or less has so far, and that blank cheque is currently standing at 17 million, and there is not one jot, dot or tittle to show. Not one brick has been laid on another, not one person has received care. 17 million would have cared for a lot more people than just 160 civil servants. The government wants to pass a framework bill and then finalise detail using secondary legislation. Now, they like secondary legislation because it doesn't need full examination. You can just sign off. Some random civil servant can sign it off, just present it in front of a minister, and it's done. Secondary legislation is a way of avoiding scrutiny, and it should never happen, especially for billions of pounds, which can be salted away, lifted, scraped, peeled off the top. They want to do that with billions of pounds on secondary legislation. Does that sound shady to you? Because that sounds shady to me. Anyway, this would include a co-design process with a number of different interested parties, including patients, trade unions and social care sector, helping to design it. The delay to 2029 is helping cash-strapped NAP ministers save 1.2 billion as it seeks to make savings. It isn't going to make any savings because it isn't ever going to come online, and they're already so far in the hole, far deeper than they ever admit, that they know it's impossible. And while they go around, and this is the thing, just sorry, a tangent, while they go around not growing the economy, those debts are going to get worse. Anyway, Scottish Tory Chairman Craig Hoyt received a new costs through a written question and described the spending as eye-watering, as he called on the government to just plain scrap the plans. He said this is typical of how the SNP recklessly squander taxpayers' money. Yeah, on little vanity projects. She wanted a legacy. Well, she's got a legacy. It's just not a very good legacy. It's millions of pounds spent on something that's never going to work, that's not required, that the opportunity cost of actually planning it has caused so many problems within the NHS. That 17 million, if spent in the NHS, could more or less clear the backlog. I mean, you think there wouldn't be, if it was turned into doctors and nurses, there wouldn't be a waiting list at A&E with 17 million pounds. But there is, and that's why. It is a ridiculous waste of money, but you don't expect anything less than complete and utter waste of money from this crowd of absolute clowns. Anyway, I shall stop there. I shall come up and we shall round off, because it is, like I say, the last video of the day, short of there being some breaking news. Do you know, every day when I look to see the stories that I'm going to be doing in the day, there's always money wasted. There's always at least one story where millions or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, whatever it is, has been wasted on a pointless exercise, some vanity project, or just some piece of stupidity, of ignorance, of ineptitude. Because they don't care, because it's not their money. It's not coming out of their pocket. And that means that, of course, they can waste it stupidly. But the real cost isn't the money they've wasted. The real cost is where the money could have been spent. Could have gone into education, into hospitals, into anything. Not into just wasting MP's time, MSP's time, civil servants' time. And to do what? To come up with a piece of paper that people will look at and go, oh, it isn't going to work, is it? Well, how much does it cost you to work out that it isn't going to work? $1.5 million? You know, but they've got to make work. They've got nothing else to do, these people. Empty, sad people. Stupid, most of them. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll round off there. It's been a good day. we'll move on. If, like I say, this is the last one of the day. If there is a breaking story, I will come back up and do one. Otherwise, you may get just a little flash video. Other than that, do please hit the subscribe button. We are getting so close to 9,100. Be nice to hit that. And until tomorrow, hopefully, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.